So oftentimes when I talk about military brats, I'm kind of talking about the ones whose parents are in it for a career. Guess how many times, just guesstimate of how many times a military brat moves in a period of from like birth to ending high school, on the average.
20, 15.
I would say that I'm an autoethnographic artist. I predominantly draw. I use paint, but I don't consider myself a painter. I use mixed media. I do works in series. So the series that I'm doing now is about being a military brat. In the state of Virginia, it's us and Texas that have the largest amount of military family members. It's kind of hard not to know someone that's been in the military or connected to the military and stuff like that. So basically my father's a career Marine, which means the entire time I was living in the home, he was a Marine, an active duty. I was born in Maryland. We moved to California, North Carolina, South Carolina, Virginia, and then we moved to Hawaii, which is where my brother was born. And then within those states, when we would move, we would also move multiple times. So I just learned so much about how people live. What this is right here, what is it? I see you nodding your head.
It's a Jack in the Box.
It's a Jack in the Box, right. Traditional what? Kids toys, right? Right, so traditional kids toys with, I guess, what you might call non-traditional kids toys, which is, you know, the military kid upbringing. Now, not everybody probably played with things like that, but we certainly saw tanks. I've always been processing how I understand things visually, so constantly sketching. So whenever I couldn't explain something about myself, a feeling or a reaction, I would attempt to do some sort of creative process with that. Afterwards, I would realize that I had a completely different response to that same imagery or that same scenario that brought me to that imagery. I would be very relaxed about it, whereas before it might create a tense feeling. Now it created a completely calm feeling and a good feeling of understanding and awareness. So then I started studying why the brain, reacts in different ways and reading about trauma. And then I started connecting actually some of the military family experience with some of the things that I was drawing and didn't even realize the connection until doing all of the studies. And then 9/11 happened, and I realized that there was going to be a whole new generation of children that would be brought up in a war-deployed family. So I thought, what can I do to help educate families and children? I started documenting everything I possibly could about military family life through me, but then also at the same time I started reading everything I possibly could online. I decided, okay, this can't just be about me when I'm making this art, this has to be about the collective. So these are pieces that are actually done in the classroom, and what I do is I show the children how to work with the different materials. It's usually old papers on top of board with wood filler that's been sanded, graphite, pencil, watercolor. Those are the main materials. And we work towards an iconic image that represents a military brat. A lot of my classroom experiences come from outside entities, meaning the YMCA, Boys and Girls Club, public school system, bases will just call me and say, we heard about you, we heard that you do military kid creative programming. Could you do something for us, and what would that be?
So one of our reasons for bringing Laura Belden in with understanding military families and the military brat experience is it's important for us to give the kids opportunities to reach outside of themselves, to try to understand those that have a different lifestyle or come from a different set of circumstances. But even within that, it's important that they understand that art is something that you use to ultimately connect to your own humanity.
I have a few friends who I'm still in touch with that have moved away because their parents are in the military, and one of my friends, I went over to their house right before they moved, and it's just like empty because they're packing everything up, and especially for a big move like that, it's really something you kind of have to do, and I don't know. I just didn't. You don't think about it all that much.
The challenging part is changing so often. When you move, you have to say goodbye to so many friends. So you have to just say, I'm not gonna let myself come down, from that, and I must move on. And so you focus on the future. You focus on the now, you focus on the future, and sometimes you have to let go in multiple ways.
I can't directly relate to any military brats, but I can see some of the difficulties with having to move a lot and going to different schools and constantly making friends, but then having to leave them again.
The kids that come to me usually stay connected. This sort of project has become something that they come back to as one of their solid, stationary things. I really, truly feel myself doing this for the rest of my life. Now I have my own space, and what I want to do is have this feel like this is home base. Even though people, families, children continue to move all over the world, they will know that this is always going to be here. It's always going to be available for programming. I'm always going to have summer workshops. There's always going to be that family connection, and we all continue to learn together.